My name is Total Biscuit, and I suck at Starcraft 2. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another edition of I Suck at Starcraft 2. Now this is a Terran vs Terran match that I played during my placements, and it's relatively good, although I must say my opponent made more mistakes than I did, and I want to analyse what I did wrong as well as what he did wrong. So as usual, speeding it up at the start just to get past this little initial bit here. Rather odd strategy of building right at the front there, the two supply depots, actually using two SCVs as opposed to one. Now, that hurts your early game economy a little bit, and putting those supply depots there is a little bit weird. Now, he wasn't able to block that off, so I was able to get the scout in there, but I didn't learn anything. I quickly nailed by a marine. And, of course, he attempts the same thing. I didn't build a complete block there. You can see there's a little bit of a hole there. Hadn't quite perfected that at that point in time. Now, I went for these early Vespene refineries for one particular reason. Over the last few videos, I've been saying I was going for a Reaper harass, and it never happened. Well, so I decided to find one of the videos that I actually did a Reaper harass in during the placements, and I'm going to show you how effective it can be when done properly. Now, as regards to his economy, it's pretty solid. You can see the workers are pretty even there. He'll be slightly behind in terms of resources, particularly since he's decided to go for a very early expansion there. You saw that a command center in the top. Probably not a very good idea at this stage of the game, I'm afraid, because it really puts you way behind in terms of your military. I can outbuild him in terms of army and get some early damage in. Now, to be honest, had I chosen simply to go Marines Marauders and just plowed out as many as possible, I could have run straight into that block that he had there and eaten it alive. But at this point, I was a little bit paranoid for Terran v Terran, and you can see I set up a bunker there for one reason alone. I thought he might be attempting a Reaper harass. I always assume that every time I do Terran versus Terran, there's actually one map called Blistering Sands where almost certainly there will be a Reaper harass at some point, just because that's the way the map's set up. There's about 20 different ways into the enemy base. Very unpleasant. Now, I scanned there, and I can see that he's building a factory. The funny thing with this factory is he doesn't ever do anything with it. It's really weird. If you'd gone, say, for some early harassment with Hellions, which are those little buggy units with the flamethrowers, then that might have worked quite well. In the meantime, I am building those Reapers, and he has a number of different entry points that are not covered into his base. Now, later on, I learned that it's probably not worth building Reapers unless you're also willing to invest in the Reaper speed upgrade, because that really means that they can live a lot longer. He's put all his eggs in one basket there. Yeah, I wouldn't want to run to that either, but those cliffs allow for a number of different attack vectors. Now, it's rather unusual to see an orbital command upgrade going up so late, but then again, this was back in the Copper Leagues, back at the start of the beta. People were still figuring things out, myself included, so you can't really blame him for that. Now, there's this group of Reapers here that I'm going to send in for harassment. They can do various things, including, as you can see there, jump over cliffs, which makes them extremely mobile, and they can attack from unexpected directions. They've also got pistols, which are quite effective, and they also have detonation charges, which can be used against buildings. Now, I jump up there, completely bypassing his wall, and straight into his expansion to do some damage. Kill as many SCVs as humanly possible. Now, all the down there and going for that command center, trying to kill it in short order. But you can see on the minimap, up comes his Marines to counter that. I see them coming. I move away before he has the chance and jump up the cliff. And then go for his other buildings and his other SCVs. This is how effective a Reaper harass can be. Right in the middle and gutting his economy in the early game. If you can pull this off, this works incredibly well. Now, he's chasing me down. I'm microing around there. My terrible version of micro. I lose one Reaper. I wouldn't have even lost a Reaper if I'd got that speed upgrade. That's what really annoys me there. Jump them down the cliff, go and blow up those SCVs he's built again, and get a couple of attacks on the command center, and just try and run him around. Now, this seems all well and good, but here's the mistake I'm making. You see the resources in the top of the screen? I'm not building anything. I am utterly tunnel-visioned on these Reapers. Now, you might say, well, Total Biscuit, of course you can't build. You're not looking at your base. Wrong. Yes, you can. You can hotkey your various buildings. So, here's a little trick for you. This is something I learned way later, way past this game. And what you do is you go to your base and you see those buildings there, use the control and number keys. So say maybe I could set my command center to control 1 group and I could use the barracks as 2 and 3. So then all I need to do in order to build something while I'm not looking at my base is press 1, 2 and 3. And that'll access my barracks and everything like that, and then use the keyboard shortcuts for buildings. So say if I wanted to build Marines, then I would be pressing the A button and things like that. Works rather well. Now, here's the impact of that. It's not really reflected all that well because he's dumped down a few mules to desperately try and catch up, but I'm way ahead. And of course, look at how many harvesters. 21 for me and 9 for him. Gutted his economy and really stunted his growth. Now, what that allows me to do is plow as many resources as possible into an army that will overwhelm that wall at the front and be able to push in for victory. Now, I moved my guys down there just in case he decided to retaliate. Didn't want the same thing happening, of course, to my command center that happened to his. Now, we don't get any Reapers from him, and there's no surprises there, but because he's so crippled in terms of his economy, I'm really able to start pumping it out, and I go for the standard I win tactic of Marines and Marauders, M&M. It works well. It's pretty good. If you want to use Marauders to punch through a block, that's generally an effective idea. And he's gone for a starport here quite early on with a tech lab. And one might assume that he would go for Banshees at this point, but it's kind of weird. He doesn't till later on. Again, we were all learning at this point. You can't blame the guy. Now, all he's got right now are Marines, and I am rapidly starting to build far more units than he has. I've got loads of Marauders, which will be very nice indeed, and I'm almost equaling him in terms of Marines. This will give me the opportunity to push forward and hopefully end the game in short order with one brutal strike. There's my expansion. A little bit late on the expansion, honestly, but not the worst mistake in the world. Again, there are various different build orders that can be used at various different times and in various different situations. Now, he built a Raven, and I can't figure out why. It's a cool unit, don't get me wrong, but really the Raven's strength is the Seeker missile, which requires some serious investment. Right now, all he can do is dump down an auto turret, which is not all that effective. They're great in large numbers, say if you've got a bunch of Ravens, but no, it's not going to help him all that much. Now, I decided to back up my force with some Hellions, which is generally a good idea. A little bit underused, these units, outside of a harassment role. I like backing my forces up with them. They've got this line AoE. It fires straight through, and it does great damage to everything in the way. Speed up and moving in, and here we go. So I broke down his block with the Marauders in short order, moved in as close as possible so my Hellions would be able to shoot, and he decided not to back off, which was very silly, set most of his guys on fire, and pushed my way past his block. Now, he dumped down an auto turret there, which is, of course, going to fire on me. It's not going to make any difference at all, because he's got nothing to back it up, so it goes down before it can do anything. Coming in with a second wave of Marines, I'm able to focus my fire, eliminate them in short order, and there's that one Banshee I was talking about. And it's able to wreak a terrible toll on my Marines, but if he'd just gone a couple of Banshees earlier instead of buying that Raven, then he would have been able to repulse that attack, easily kill the Marines, and then pick off the Marauders at his leisure. Big mistake there going for the Raven, but hey, again, Copper League, placement matches, you can't blame the guy. And down goes his starport, and he knows at this point that he really can't do anything, sending in the SCVs, which all get annihilated in short order, and good game. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the effectiveness of a Reaper harass when done correctly. It's quite an important strategy to get right, because if you don't get it right, you end up losing a ton of resources. They're very expensive, but it works. It can be effective on certain maps, and particularly on this one where I knew he was front-loading all of his defense at the entrance to his expansion there. I was able to get in there and wreak havoc. My name is Total Biscuit, and I suck at Starcraft 2. I'll see you next time.